And we are on. It is exactly 3 minutes to the top of the hour. Well, this is the first time. Boss will not complain this time. Boss, last time you said we began after 10. How about that now? We're on time.
Are we going to get out of here before midnight, I hope?
Where are you going?
With anywhere you're going. We'll
He was the Gishu Women Rep. Glad is the boss is in the house. And nominated MP. Jennifer Shamala, thank you both for coming.
Thank you for inviting us, Jen.
Boss, real quick, you were opposed to the whole nomination of CASs or the whole office of Chief Administrative Secretary, weren't you?
Yes.
And now the High Court has ruled that it's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It was unconstitutional from the beginning.
How come?
No, because there's no such position in, the reason CASs actually are assistant ministers.
Right.
That's what they did. They brought assistant ministers through the back door. But remember our constitution, when we changed the constitution, we removed assistant ministers and we reduced the number of cabinet members. So we are going back to those old days when we would have, like if the president wanted to make everybody happy, he'd have like 42 ministers, and then another something, 20-something assistant ministers. So yeah.
So this is a good move, you think?
Yes.
I don't know how long it'll last. Jennifer, what are your thoughts about this?
First of all, I'm always very careful, as you know. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and so is the boss.
Both of you, yes.
And the matter is live before the courts. Okay. I'm not sure. Of course, it changed the structure. When you do look at the chapter that deals with the executive, you don't have the office of the CASs, but it is live before the courts. So I'll wait. I don't know if they've appealed the decision yet, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but,
yes.
okay.
But having said that, when we keep on saying the old days, so I think it's best we refer to the former constitution and the Constitution 2010. That office is not provided for within the executive. You have the office of the cabinet secretaries, you have the offices of the permanent secretaries. But even within in the presidency, they've done. I noted that a while ago, not too long ago, there was a restructuring. But not that I'm trying to defend them, but I would like to see what their defense will be, what their grounds, if any, on appeal would be, and then I would be in a better position to comment.
Okay, so
on that particular area. But as we speak, yes, that position did not exist. Yes,
but also it has brought a lot of challenges. But if you talk to any CAS and PSS, they are fighting in the office.
Okay,
because the PS is the accounting officer,
right,
and then the CAS is this person who's there, like above them, yet we never changed the terms of reference for the PSS.
Right.
Yes.
So that is the challenge. In fact, we did things backwards. What we should have done is developed a new human resource structure and then appointed them.
So what happens to these individuals? Are they holding office illegally?
Well, they will appeal that decision, I'm assuming.
Obviously,
if I was a lawyer, I would advise them to appeal. But also, the other issue is, I think that from what I gleaned from reading the newspapers was there was no public participation, and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission had not been their advice had not been sought on that. Now, you know that public participation is it's intrinsic, it's entrenched in the Constitution, and every process that is taken either by the executive, by Parliament, or even the judiciary must be subjected to public participation. So those are the two grounds. So I have not read the decision, but those are the issues that did come out.
Boss, what do you think? Why now? Why did the High Court rule now?
No, because it's taken so long to go through the judiciary system.
But these guys have been in office now, what? Would you say?
But that's just the system in the judiciary.
No, but the challenges we've had, remember that we lost a year in the judiciary last year because the courts were closed
and the COVID pandemic.
Then they're trying to do online cases, and sometimes it's actually much slower. And then, of course, truth be told, there's 41 judges that are supposed to be appointed by the president. He has failed to appoint them. So that is part of the backlog.
Still haven't been appointed.
Yeah, but I've addressed this issue so many times, and I will address it yet again for the benefit of those who may not have heard what I said. These 41 names did go to the president. They were approved, vetted by the Judicial Service Commission. The president is advised by various security and intelligence agencies in this country. And Gladys knows as well as I do, there were very damning evidence made and evidence provided on some of these judges. Now, the law is very clear. He cannot cherry pick and say, of these 41, I will approve, you must approve all. So it was the job of the Judicial, and then the Judicial Service Commission said, and it was in an in-camera session.
I was secretary to the Judicial Service.
I know, but as the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, let me finish, Gladys. When we had this discussion with the former Chief Justice, Justice Maraga, the press were asked to leave, and we brought up this issue. And they said, and now, because it's important for the people of Kenya to know, that why didn't the agencies provide this information to the Judicial Service Commission? It is very clear, especially with the National Security Intelligence Services, they don't answer or report to the Judicial Service Commission. They report only to the president.
Okay, point noted. Okay. So let's say there's 3 out of 41.
No, okay.
Let's see.
Let me see. First of all, a majority of those judicial officers, a majority of the 41, are actually serving magistrates or serving members of the High Court.
True.
So if there is damning evidence against them, then why don't we petition the Judicial Service Commission to set up a tribunal for their
Because we
removal?
don't... Yes.
Yes. So that is not... Are they good enough to be at the High Court and good enough to be magistrates, but not good enough to be promoted to the Court of Appeal or the High Court? So it is very insincere of the president to actually think that he can decide that they are good enough to serve at the lower level of the magistracy or at the High Court and not serve at the Court of Appeal.
All right.
And that is, and it's very easy. We know that we have evidence. And it happened. The DPP petitioned the Judicial Service Commission for the removal of Philomena Mwilu. Yeah? So why doesn't they give that evidence and be able to remove those judges? That's one. Number 2, I have been secretary of the Judicial Service Commission. This is what happens whenever you want to appoint judges. We actually give their names to the NIS, and they would normally give a confidential report to the Judicial Service Commission.
So
that is the process.
Was a step missed here, or was that vetting done and not forwarded, or?
It happens all the time, so I'm surprised that they wouldn't get the report. And I know that they would actually reply within a few days.
All right. Can we move on from that?
Yes, definitely. So much to talk about.
Search for CJ?
Search for CJ. What about the search for CJ? The interviews.
It's ongoing.
Yes, I know. I think there's two.
So your thoughts so far?
There's 2 more candidates.
Yes, there is.
That need to be interviewed. I've refrained from speaking on it because if we decide and make decisions.
Okay, I'm just saying the process, Jennifer. You don't have to comment on individuals.
Yes, okay. Yes. The process. Yeah. Well, there's 2 more interviews. The Judicial Service Commission will make a decision. The last say is with Parliament, with the National Assembly. The name will be brought to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. The candidate will appear before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. A report will be generated and tabled, and the National Assembly will debate that nominee.
So far, pretty transparent?
You know what? I have an issue with one of the things. Transparent, yes. And I said it, and I'm on record for saying it several times. Dignity is the platform of all rights, and everyone has a right to dignity. And those officers interviewing these candidates or these prospective chief justices have sworn to uphold the Constitution. I saw situations where the interviews were conducted like it was cross-examination, and I don't think that's, let's not practice our advocacy skills at interviews and playing to the camera. I'm not saying all of them. And then you saw situations where questions were being asked which are really for an examination or a thesis paper. And I'm not saying this was across the board. Generally, I would say yes, it was a very transparent process. It was aired live. But I think these issues, and for anyone, because if I was appearing as a candidate, or if Gladys was appearing as a candidate, I wouldn't want to be treated like that. I think that, and we know we sit on committees. When people come before us, just give them and accord them the respect they deserve.
Boss, what do you think?
No, I think it's what Kenyans wanted. Kenyans wanted a public interview.
Yes.
They want to know who's their Chief Justice. And I think even if they're hard on them during the interview, I think it's a good thing because you want to know that your Chief Justice is somebody who's sober, who can work well under pressure, and who doesn't lose his temper or doesn't lose her temper. That's the kind of Chief Justice that we are looking for. So I think that's what you're going. But I think one of the things Kenyans haven't picked is, have you asked yourself why no Supreme Court judge applied for Chief Justice?
Is it not a choice? I think that a lot of times...
No, just hold on, Jennifer.
The DCJ didn't apply?
No.
No.
No,
None of the Supreme Court judges, not
applied.
Justice Lenola, not Justice Jokin Dungo, not
but
Justice
a lot of them,
And the answer to that would be, what is your...
A lot of them thought that there's already been decided who's going to be Chief Justice. And then also a lot of them thought that the president hasn't appointed the 41 judges. What makes him? Is there any guarantee that he's going to appoint Chief Justice?
It has to be a Chief Justice.
I don't know how they thought that because I didn't read it anywhere that that's the reason they didn't.
No, of course, none of the Supreme Court judges are going to say that.
But now we're reading into their minds. I think it's, but you're saying they thought.
Okay. I know that for a fact.
Okay, I don't know that, so I can't comment on why they didn't.
I know that for a fact.
I think that, I think it's great, and I think it's great to ask, to look into the temperament of people. But when it gets to a point, Gladys, and I really don't think it's fair, I think at some point, and I'm not saying all the committees.
I mean, I've been interviewed for Deputy Chief Justice, so I know. And it was one of the things when I gave myself as a candidate, I accepted that is what they're going to ask.
Yes.
And also, I think there was one judge who, I think one broke down, he cried, and then another one said that even his firm knows that he's supposed to be Chief Justice. It also helps us because mental health is over somebody who's holding the position of Chief Justice is very important. And it's one of the things that Kenyans should actually get involved in because I think it's one of the things we should test. That's why we have police officers shooting their families, killing themselves.
Their loved ones,
and so on. And that's why I think in the absence of having a mental health assessment, then it's okay for the person to be put under that rigorous interview.
Yeah, but I know
one of the things I would like to suggest is that we really must be, for certain positions, we must have a mental health evaluation. It's not enough just to get NIS.
Right.
But I mean, would that be constitutional? I mean, and crying, does crying necessarily say that there's something wrong with you? It can demonstrate compassion and deep empathy.
It wasn't, no, this was a judge
but there are signs.
Standing there and defending a decision he made, and he basically said, I decided to disobey the law because the law is not good enough. I mean, how do you have somebody
you can't say that.
You can't say that,
exactly.
That disqualifies.
Yes, but that doesn't need a mental health assessment.
You know what I mean? And then he broke down. Why would you break down when you're defending a decision you made? If you're sure about your decision.
He
doesn't feel passionately about it. I think you're just being dramatic. So we don't need those kind of people. We don't need those kind of people to be Chief Justice.
Maybe he developed a conscience.
Yes, exactly. Maybe he developed a conscience. Crying is not necessarily negative.
And then there was another one who I think I can't remember. But you remember there was somebody who.
I loved the humor and the wit.
Ladies, can I take a break? It takes
intelligence to be witty.
Boss, I want to come back and talk about UDA, Jubilee.
Okay.
PRD. What's it?
PRD.
It's UDA.
What the umbrella is what? PDR?
PDR.
No, PDR was it's what do you call it? Okay, we changed the name.
Yeah, from PDR
to UDA. PDR. We changed the symbol and the name, which is allowed.
It's too many initials. Sounds like a PDF to me. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, Citizen TV. Kaya the hashtag.
Why do you hate my party?
Ladies' night.
Stop being mean to my party.
Can I get some water?
Yes, there's some.
Where's the extinguisher?
You want to spray? First spray it.
Yeah.
And it's coming. YP Magic. Yes.